Danny Grimm, the hero of the show and helping Meteos get his webcam fixed. Mark, did you pick him because of that?
No, I like his topic.
Okay. Well, Danny Grimm, no favoritism. Where are you calling from?
Calling from Redmond, Washington.
Redmond, Washington. Okay, I'm going to turn you up here a little quiet. What do you want to talk about on... Do you work for Microsoft?
Yeah.
Have you been on the show before and I've asked you this question?
No, but I've talked to you in Twitch chat when you were doing IRL streams.
Oh, okay. Very good. Well, what do you want to talk about on the show tonight?
Right. So I wanted to talk about how I don't think any team from any region should qualify to Worlds based on championship points. And I guess my main reason is Worlds should be like this big tournament once a year. All the best teams at that moment should be represented at Worlds. And since slots are it's not like every region gets 10 slots or anything. It's very few slots. And we should only be seeing the best teams. And I feel like when you start counting championship points, you no hate towards Hard Thieves, but you get situations where like the fourth best team in the region qualifies. So I guess what I'm trying to say is only one team should qualify from playoffs. Everyone else should fight for whatever slots are left.
They should only qualify from playoffs.
Like one team from playoffs, obviously summer playoffs, and everyone else fight either through Gauntlet or some other system. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. So without getting into the specifics of the system, the main talking point is no one should qualify off points.
Championship points. Okay.
Yeah.
So do you in this system does spring split not matter?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about it for a while because you want spring split to mean something, but I guess it should only help you with seeding in Gauntlet, which should be a big deal, assuming only one team qualifies through playoffs. So you want to get a better seed, so you don't have to fight, I guess, as hard. So it should mean something, or maybe like come up with a different system. But in the current system, I still think that only one team should qualify through playoffs. Everyone else shouldn't. Like championship points is just for seeding.
Danny Grimm, do you have a favorite team?
Cloud9 actually. But...
Okay.
So
people were suspicious you were a TSM fan.
On the topic of spring not mattering, I think going to MSI is good, and I think seeding in the Gauntlet is still good. Like, imagine if C9 had to show their Hecarim pick against Echo Fox, and TSM was above them in the Gauntlet, and then they're like, oh shit, they're playing Hecarim into Aatrox. Better learn this fucking matchup so I don't have to do it on stage. I think that is an advantage. So I think, spring would still matter. Would it be as sexy as, like, I got second in spring and now I'm at Worlds? No, but is it better to have a team qualifying from points in spring is the question.
Yeah, I definitely think it's an issue with no easy answer, because on one hand, nobody wants to see a team go to Worlds that's not actually like the best from their region, and circuit points can allow that to happen at times. Like, I think a lot of people were unhappy about the way 100 Thieves qualified given their recent performance, and I think it happened 1 or 2 years ago with CLG as well, where they got in and not everyone was happy about it.
Yeah, that was the MSI
and so
year.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree that it's unfortunate when it happens, when like you can't see your favorite team that's playing well right now go to Worlds because of something like circuit points. So I think a different system could be good. The only thing you have to think about is how do you make spring split not useless, and that's the big question for everyone. Circuit points were designed as a way to kind of make spring split matter more, because you won't just have a team that's like, giving zero like care in the world to the spring split and then just try harding in summer and then getting in. So I wish Jat was here. Were you here when he was giving that
he had like this
presentation?
Jat fucking
Is this on the analyst desk or what?
No. This was in like the Castier green room.
Okay.
We were talking about the same topic, and Jat's like, I have a system I was thinking about, and then someone was jokingly like, there's a whiteboard there if you want to write it down, and then he just goes up on the whiteboard and he writes this huge thing. So if Jat was here...
After we left on Sunday, he went and wrote it on a napkin and took a picture on his phone and sent it to me.
Wait, do you have it?
I shouldn't show it without talking with him, but yeah,
Okay.
he sent it. I mean, one of the things that we were discussing is basically making the Gauntlet function more like a double elimination bracket in conjunction with the actual playoff bracket, so that like as you lose in playoffs, you get dropped into the gauntlet at different points. And people who have championship points, who then like in spring, if you didn't get seeded into the playoffs, you would then have it. So it was something like that. There were a lot of different ideas around it, and I think spring split matters a lot more than when championship points were initially introduced, because there was no MSI, if I remember, until 2015.
Yeah, 2015 they got rid of
They had
All-Stars.
All-Stars initially, where it was
like,
they just
the full
rebranded
team would
All-Stars
go.
essentially.
Yeah, 2015 was All-Stars, and it sucked. And I think 2016 was the first MSI then.
Yeah.
So I forget exactly when it came around, but I think with MSI becoming a lot more prestigious of a tournament in the last 2 years, the need for like championship points to carry a lot of weight to make spring matter has decreased. Like I think TL was very happy to like be rewarded with the chance to play at MSI for winning spring. So I still think spring would matter plenty.
You should text Jet and tell him to call.
Yeah, actually, I remember parts of Jet's thing. Like, obviously, I don't remember the whole thing, but it was something like it was a double elimination gauntlet tournament thing. But what a problem you're into with a lot of double elimination tournaments is like the grand final is really weird, because like how much of an advantage do you give to the guy coming from the winners bracket versus the losers? And with what Jat was saying, it was a case where it would just be like at the end of the tournament, like the top 3 teams go to Worlds. It doesn't really matter if you're number 1 or not.
Right.
So,
that's exactly what he and I were talking about as well, where it's like I was saying that you want to run the gauntlet actually concurrent with the thing, so that way your finals weekend is actually your final weekend. It's not the gauntlet later, because it's really weird to have like,
yes,
at least for me, it's really weird to have this hype ass venue that is very important for the second place match, but then you come back and play a week at like this kind of dull venue. And even though TSM versus C9 to qualify for Worlds should have been super duper hype, it still feels hard to match the hype in the venue. So I was saying you want to combine the gauntlet and the playoffs together, so that way your final weekend is at a venue, and it's the 1-2 match, which is determining seeding for Worlds, and the 3rd, 4th place match, which is technically the end of the gauntlet run, which people have been dropping into as they've dropped out of playoffs.
I am super on board with that, because I, for a long time, have felt like Gauntlet is a very, very cool event, but weirdly placed. Like, you should cap off the entire summer split with the finals. Like, everything builds to that. And then afterwards, you've got this other thing that at times can feel more hype than the finals if you've got shit. Like, it's really weird. So I am 100% down for integrating Gauntlet there. You should text Jet and tell him to come on the show. Danny Grimm, what were you going to say?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I wasn't actually talking, but since you've given me...
well, I think the big reason why I want to push for double elimination is because in the current playoff system, I think there's a lot of situations where like a really good team, like 2 really good teams will meet early in the playoffs. Like if you look at spring playoffs, I think like Team Liquid and Cloud9 met in the quarterfinals, right? And Cloud9 just has this way of losing in quarterfinals during playoffs sometimes, and they might not even be like the 5th, 6th worst team. Maybe they're the 2nd best team, but if you hit the 1st best team round 1, like you're kind of screwed. So I'm personally a big fan of double elimination. I think it's like pretty fun to watch. So hopefully they can find some system where you can integrate that and give like the most combination of like fair, exciting, and competitive for all the teams.
Danny, I'd love to hear you talk.
Yeah. I want to add on to
so one thing I want to toss in here as well.
Adding on to what Meteos was saying, I like from other esports where they don't have like an established league, you get to see once a year, you get to see like this huge qualifiers happening, which is kind of like Gauntlet. And I really like that even like the strongest teams have to like work through a qualifier, and you get like epic games, and it's super fun. So I definitely think that expanding Gauntlet to some extent would be super nice. And then again, to kind of reiterate what I was saying, I mean, it's nice that you had a good spring split, but that was like a whole, 4 months ago. And if you're not the best, like if you're not the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd best team in the region, you shouldn't be representing that region at Worlds. And it's just like plain and simple, and at least in my opinion. Again, no hate towards anyone that qualified over points. That's not the point. The point is that you need to be the best for Worlds to be kind of the best tournament. And especially since there's no real way to say, like, even if you were 4th place in qualifying, you can't really say how much weaker you are than the third place team. So there might be like a huge disparity, but since you did good in spring split, you still qualify, and that's like a very kind of bad scenario for the tournament. So yeah, I guess just either come up with a different system, expand Gauntlet, something else. Just don't have somebody qualified that is not the first, second, or third best team in the region.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good.
Hey, Danny, thank you so much for calling in. Anything you want to add at the end here?
No, thanks for having me.
Thanks for fixing the issue earlier.
Anytime.
Yeah. Oh, anytime? Great, because I've got a lot of Skype issues, so I'm gonna hit you up all the time.
no.
All right, you can DM me.
Fantastic. Cool. All right.
He said he works at Microsoft, right?
Yeah, I
Do you
realized.
think he works on Skype
I
at
mean,
Microsoft?
I don't. He's not an official Microsoft representative. I don't want to get him in trouble. Who knows what he works on? He might do QA for Office 365. All right, Alex.